Welcome back to another episode of Too Much Pod Tar, and finally back, and finally had news just a couple days ago of an MLB season, 60-game season coming up. The spring training 2.0 is starting. What was it, July 1st, and then we get the first game of the regular season July 26th, I believe it was. So. Yeah, it's exciting getting some of these sports back, and we actually got to, even though the MLBPA couldn't get to an agreement, MLBPA and the owners couldn't actually get to an agreement. The season was implemented by Manfred, then they agreed on the terms. So it's not looking good for after next year for the new CBA. But as of now we hopefully get a season here and not have any more cases of COVID. And not have to stop again. So hopefully get the season in and then move on from there. But yeah, I got Sam Schneider and Johnnie Black on for this episode. Sam, it's his first time on one of these pods, so welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and Johnny, of course, is returning guest, kind of slash co-host at this point.
Hey, what's up, Alex? What's up, Sam?
Nice to talk to you, Johnny.
Yeah, so I guess we'll start off. Like, what are you guys' thoughts on this season that's going to happen? Is it going to count? Do you think? So I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, it's not going to count. It's not going to be a real the World Series champion is not going to be a real champion." Which I have my thoughts, but I'll ask for yours first.
Well, I mean, for me, I had this conversation earlier today with a couple other people, and in my opinion, with everybody starting from the same point, if they finish the season, which I think is a concern still, if they finish it, I believe the World Series champion is the World Series champion. I don't think it deserves an asterisk or anything like that. I think, surely some people will write about it in the future and say, put in parentheses, shortened season or whatever. But I believe the champion is the champion, the playoffs are the playoffs. My only issue is individual awards. If a guy over 60 games hits 425, which I don't think is going to happen, but it could, or a starting pitcher has an ERA of 0.8. I don't think that those can stand without an asterisk.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I saw a couple opinions on that too today on Twitter about saying how the regular season stats, not so much the stats. I mean, obviously they go to your career, their regular season stats. But like Sam said, if someone hits 400, is it really 400? Is it really the first time in 79 years that it's happened? Is stuff like that, like with the ERA and certain records like that. I'd have to agree with that. There has to be an asterisk. I mean, because it's not even close to a full. I mean, it's not even a half a season. If you
Right.
did it, if we missed the first month of the season and it happens, then I'd be like, all right, you played 130 games. All right, I could see that. But with 60 games, I mean, anything can happen. I mean, we saw, a lot of things have been talked about, like last year. Look at where the Washington Nationals were after 60 games.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they wound up winning the World Series. So
Yeah.
you just don't know. I mean, as it stands now with the playoffs, yes. I mean, I think if you make the playoffs, you're going through the playoffs. I think the trophy has to stand.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree with Sam definitely with that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that too. And like with a team like, there's a lot of teams that can end up being in the running, like with a short season. The team like, just like thinking about the White Sox, team like the White Sox or Reds can make a run. Like, so you get all these teams, and I think it's going to make it more exciting because then you kind of get all these teams just bunched together. You can go. A lot of teams start off hot and then kind of get on to a cold stretch in the middle of the season. But now we might not even get something like that. So
Yeah, it's funny. We were kind of joking about it earlier today, about some really crazy teams being in the World Series, and on this short a season, it's not impossible. You know what I mean? It's, the old saying in football is any given Sunday, but in baseball, it's pretty much any given day. A team can beat another team, especially if you get hot. And I don't think anybody wants to see some of these teams in the World Series, but it's plausible. It's possible that some could make it.
I want to see Tigers Pirates World Series. So
Yeah, we joked about that earlier in the year.
yeah,
Before, right in spring training when we were talking to Nick.
yeah.
We joked about, Tigers Pirates World Series this year. Woohoo. And this is before this happened, but hey, could you imagine?
I mean, and you know what? The funny thing is, in 2020, I would argue that it might possibly be the most watched World Series ever,
Yeah, I could agree with that.
because everybody is dying for sports and everybody loves an underdog story. So two crummy teams actually make it, and it's like must see TV.
I actually think it might even be better if it were like the Dodgers against the Tigers,
Oh
or
yeah,
like the Yankees against the Marlins.
yeah.
Like a team that everyone expects. You know what I mean? A team that like everyone expects against the underdog. Like if it's the Marlins and the Tigers, yeah, people will watch it because they want something to watch, but they're kind of both underdogs. So it's really it's kind of just a fluke thing. But
Yeah.
if it's the Yankees against the Marlins,
I,
I think you might see a lot of people root for the Marlins.
oh
Kind of
yeah.
like
Well,
almost
you
like
got to
this.
have.
I,
I mean, you have to, Johnny. You have to have.
If they're the
You
villain,
make a great point, because you have to have a big market team in there.
yeah.
right?
So big market versus underdog. I mean, they'll make movies about
Oh
it.
yeah. I think Yankees Marlins would bring even more storylines too, because you have Jeter in there, like as the owner. So the Yankees, him against the Yankees, would be something.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think
Yeah,
about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like the Super Bowl is not like that as much because you pretty much have fan bases everywhere, and you know, there aren't a lot of surprises really in the Super Bowl. But I just know, when you have a team like the Patriots that seem to go there every year, they've gone basically half the time in the last 20 years. Teams like that when they play against, even a storied franchise like the Giants or the Falcons or someone like that, like or the Seahawks. It's like the Patriots fans, and then you have everyone else rooting against them because they're the big bad. It's almost like the Yankees. They're the evil empire. They're the big bad guys that you're supposed to win every year. They always seem to land on their feet type thing. Like, there's no rebuilding. There's just retooling and blah, blah, blah. And, it's like the team that you love to hate. You know what I mean? So the Yankees kind of fit that Patriots mold, whereas like every year in the Super Bowl, if the Patriots are there, you'll find a lot of AFC fans rooting for the NFC team because they don't want to see damn Tom Brady and Bill Belichick win another one. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the
Yeah,
Yankees that way too.
Mhm.
yeah, and
So
that's a really great analogy too, because it wasn't that long ago, um, that in the NFC wild card round in football, that the New Orleans Saints, who was the darling, had to travel to Seattle, who went 7-9 and won their division.
Don't remind me.
And I'm sorry, I forgot you were a Saints fan. But you know what I'm saying, though. It's one of those underdog situations where you know who's supposed to win, but anything can happen. And I mean they measured like like 5 on the Richter scale during that Marshawn Lynch run.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But I
and
apologize.
I'll tell you
what, I'm getting off on football instead of talking baseball.
We do that on this all the time. So.
No, but the analogy is right though too, because I mean, just look at last year. You don't have to go back to football real quick, but just look at the AFC last year. Everyone loved the Titans.
Oh yeah.
Remember the Titans? Like Ryan Tannehill, who came out of nowhere. Derrick Henry just running over everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these guys were, Mike Vrabel, the ex-Belichick player and everything like that, beats the Patriots. Like, I mean, that was the underdog story last year. Like you said, Sam, there's an underdog story every year in football when you go into it. And the same thing with every sport, pretty much. You kind of root for the 8 against the 1 in basketball or hockey. You kind of want to see that. Look what happened to the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah.
They were so bad. They were the Washington Nationals of hockey basically through January. They were outside looking in easily, and they just came in and ran the table. And for an original 6 team of the NHL to win their first Stanley Cup, that was a big thing. The Vegas Knights the year before.
Yeah, and everybody
in the league and everything. Like it's always a good story.
And everybody wants to root for the underdog. That's kind of what we do in sports. It's why everybody freaked out when Virginia lost in college basketball. It's the first time a 16 ever beat a 1, and it didn't matter if you were a fan of the 16. You lost your mind because you're like, this has never happened, and these are the upstarts and et cetera and so on.
Yeah, and you tore up your bracket, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was gonna shift to something else here. I saw today, that some teams are actually trying to get 20% of fans in the stadium for the season. I don't know all the details about it, like how they're gonna do the social distancing and all that. Like, I guess just have whatever 20% of fans is kind of, you can spread out. So I guess that would work, but just don't know how it would work with what fans are able to get tickets. Like, how would you go about that? I don't know.
I think my biggest concern with that is, I don't hate the idea, and it's my understanding that it's a state by state thing, and actually Illinois was one of the ones that was supposedly willing to do it, although the Cubs and the White Sox have already told everyone that they're not expecting to, at least not to start. My biggest concern is, sure, you can get them in there and spread them out, but show me pictures of the turnstiles. Show me pictures of the bars or the parking lots before the game. Like, you can say, sure, everybody here is sitting apart and they're spread out, but what about the crowds that are lining through just to get in?
Right. That's definitely a good point. Like, especially, I think if a game's going on, there's going to be fans that don't even get like into the game, that are going to be outside of the stadium, trying to just have their own like get together or whatever.
Right. Well, and show me the concession stands while you're at it. I mean, how are you going to work that out?
There's a lot to consider there, definitely. the tailgating and everything like that. I mean, this goes with any sport, really.
Right.
I spent I was telling Alex earlier that I got a copy of the agreement, and it's so long. It's like 40 pages long. Like, these guys like to listen to themselves talk more than I like to listen to myself talk. And there's just so many rules and regulations. Obviously, we already talked about umpires and arguing calls and all that stuff, but like, you can't spit. Like, I'm even sunflower seeds, chewing tobacco, anything like that. You can't spit that stuff. You can't high five. You can't do this, can't do that. They're supposed to try to keep everybody apart in the dugout as much as they can, even though they've all been tested. It's gonna. I think it's just gonna be really surreal when it finally fires up. It's, everybody right now is complaining about the new rules with the universal DH and all that kind of stuff. But I think they're missing what's really going to be weird is when they finally see the product. It's going to be a really strange dose of reality.
Yeah, another thing I heard too was that pitchers aren't allowed to use the rosin bags either.
Oh, I didn't know that one.
Yeah, like I heard something that they're gonna have to use like a wet towel or something to like get a grip.
Like, probably per pitcher, I guess. Like, you get one wet towel when you come in from the bullpen or whatever. I would imagine. I don't know. I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. It's going to be, yeah, it's definitely going to be a change. And a lot of people talk about like the crowd noise too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you're watching a telecast and you can hear the crowd, and stuff like that, and how weird. I mean, I remember watching some of, if you remember, I think it was 5 years ago. Was it Tavon Rice? I think when Baltimore played the game without fans.
Yeah.
And I mean, the players were saying they could hear the announcers like from their booth, like on the field, because it's like a cathedral in the sense with the echoes and everything. I mean, you can hear everything. And it's so weird to hear it without fans. And they talked about pumping in fan noise and stuff like that. But I don't know, are they going to do something like Korean baseball? Have like the stuffed animals in the stands?
Stuffed animals.
I think that, first of all, personally, I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome.
It's I mean, behind the batter, it's
awesome.
outstanding.
I mean, dude, I want to see Jose Barrios pitching Aaron Judge with SpongeBob, like behind the umpire. That's what I want to see. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is what I want to see, dude. I want this.
I think it would be.
Well, I mean, if it's gonna be this surreal and this weird, then just embrace it.
Yeah, and have fun with it, man.
And go full on. I mean, baseball is already in this offseason and alienated so many people that are so fed up either with the owners or the players. You might as well have a little fun, and maybe somebody calls their friend and says, dude, you got to see this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And this is also how you get social media involved and market your players and stuff. I mean, when you have, like I said, like just say Jose Barrios pitching to Aaron Judge, you got SpongeBob and Patrick like sitting behind the umpire or something. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. That's going to be on Twitter. It's going to be on Facebook. People will make memes out of it. Like, this is how you market. Mm-hmm. Granted, the concentration will be on SpongeBob and Patrick, not on Judge or Barrios. But I'm just saying, I mean, this is exactly how you get people to like have some fun with it again. Baseball they've gotten so stuffy. They really have. I mean, years ago with the bat flip stuff, the whole Jose Bautista thing, we all know how that worked out. Like
Right.
His whole bat flipped, and the next year Rougned Odor punched him in the face and everything like that. We know how the stuff goes. It's the old guard trying to keep baseball etiquette and the unwritten rules in there. Like, come on, have some fun.
Well, and that's what's ridiculous about it. And I'll add to that because I'm a Reds fan. Derek Dietrich admiring a home run, and it sparking a really nasty rivalry with Pittsburgh of all people, because they threw at him, and then Amir Garrett and Yasiel Puig both threw punches and challenged pretty much the entire team. But it is the old guard, and at some point baseball needs to realize that they're not really gaining new fans in the younger segment. And if they don't do something to fix that, it's going to die. Like it's at some point they're just going to stop playing. And you could tell your grandkids there was a game called baseball that people played all the time, but it just kind of went the way of its fathers. I don't know, just my opinion.
I agree, definitely. It's gotta. I mean, I grew up with it. I mean, Sam, you're too. Alex, you're younger, but I mean, we all grew up with baseball. For the love of the game and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you, Sam. I know I have. Like, I've embraced analytics. I've grown with the game. I'm into the bat flips and stuff like that. And I want these guys to play with some emotion, because when you don't, this is what makes it. This is what takes baseball away from the 16, 17, 18-year-olds, the 22-year-olds, the 23-year-olds. This is what makes baseball appealing to the 60-year-olds that grew up with it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not getting any more fans. You're not gaining anyone. Isn't it the whole point? Isn't it the whole point? Yet Manfred wants to institute these pace of play changes and things like that to get new fans. That's not the way to go about it. The game is the game. Sell the game. You don't need to change the game to sell it. Sell the game itself.
I think
and sell its players.
It needs to be more fun, and they need to embrace marketing and say why it's more fun. I mean, it was a year ago, 2 years ago, a year ago, I think, that their whole ad campaign was let the kids play. And then all of a sudden, the old owners can't come to an agreement to let the kids play this year. Many of which you kept saying, just tell us when and where. And I know that was, kind of BS, but it's still kids, and you're not going to get any more guys that are kids joining the game of baseball and playing the game of baseball the way a lot of kids in other countries play soccer from the time that they're 3 years old. You're not going to get any of that if you keep making it the old dude's game and making it just kind of, frankly, boring.
Yeah, I think what they need to do this year too is like since what they did in spring training, the miking up the players, since it's not going to only be on, you're only going to be able to watch it on TV. They should like mic them up for all the games this year, or at least a few of the players.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, even if it was just one guy per team per game,
Yeah.
that would help. But if you had multiple, that would be even better.
Yeah. 'Cause
And
like,
go ahead, Alex.
I was gonna say, like in spring training, they had it where they're like the announcers would be like asking them a question, like interview. It would be basically an interview, but I think here it should just be like that. They just have like a mic on them, so you can hear what they're saying during the game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, baseball is so old and so worried about like the cursing and stuff like that. You know, Pete Alonso's been in the news recently because of that. He seems to be like the poster boy for like baseball has a cursing problem. You know, like you know what? People just make stories out of nothing. I swear, it's really something else. But I mean, so what? If he drops the F-bomb so often, you know, whatever. You got a
Yeah.
7-second delay.
Yeah, there's a delay. Yeah.
You know. Not only that, too, I love that, like in spring training when they do those interviews, like in between innings or whatever it may be. Those things are great
Yeah.
because they're watching their teammates play. You know what I mean? They're watching the next guy up or whatever, like they're in a dugout and they're watching their buddy pitch or something like this. So you want to hear Pete Alonso talking to the announcers about, oh, you know, what'd you look for last time up? Oh, Jacob deGrom's pitching. Like, what do you think he's throwing here? Oh, like, you know, stuff like that. Like, just, you know, inside the game, you know? And this is what people want to hear. People love that stuff, whatever other sport. I don't understand why baseball doesn't do it more often, especially with so much downtime.
Right.
I mean, this would cure a lot of the pace of play stuff because you don't have to just sit there, watch a baseball game and listen to announcers for 3.5 hours. You can listen to this player in the first and second inning. You can listen to this player from the third and the fourth inning. You can listen to this play. Like, it's something to keep you more interested. So
Yeah,
the
I
pace of
agree.
play
I
wouldn't have an
agree.
issue then.
I agree. I mean, like I'm not a fan of the um, let's say, for lack of a better term, the all-star games in any sport. It doesn't really do much for me. I try to tune in when my guys are playing, but overall, I don't really care. At least baseball kind of made the home field advantage thing, made the game a little more relevant. But you know, last year, and I don't know if they did it the year before, but last year for sure, when they had guys mic'd up on the field during the MLB All-Star game, I was glued. I mean, I was like, yeah, I want to hear Mookie Betts talk. I want to hear Francisco Lindor talk, and joke around and know their personalities better and all that kind of stuff. So I don't really understand why it's so out of the realm of possibility. Like I could get that you wouldn't do it in football. It's a 16-game season. You can't interview a guy. Every game is super, super important. But you got, aside from this year, you got 162 games in baseball. You're actually telling me that left fielder isn't already like hungover and doesn't care about the game today? Fuck, put a mic on him. Like, let's talk about it.
Oh, he's talking to himself anyway in left field half the time. I mean, you know, really. And it doesn't have to be every broadcast. I mean, do it for the national games. You know, and I know sometimes they do here and there, but you know, I just think it could be expanded a lot more.
Yeah, it's still pretty rare. I agree.
Yeah, I think there was the one. I think what was it 2 years ago? The All-Star game. They had Bryce Harper mic'd up, and he started talking about like the Cowboys because he's a Cowboys fan. So he started talking about like, oh, Dak is gonna go off this year or something like that. Like,
See, that's the good stuff. That's the stuff everybody needs to hear because most fans are not just baseball fans. They're just sports fans. So you start hearing a player talk about somebody in another sport, all of a sudden your ears perk up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the cross promotion, just even with that, I mean, but not only that too, it's like, you get to know, all right, Bryce Harper's a Cowboys fan, wow, or he likes Dak Prescott, or stuff like that. Someone talking about their fantasy baseball team, they're like, oh, I hope he strikes him out because I got, I got Jake DeGrom tonight on my fantasy team, like, you know what I mean, like stuff like that, like, I want to see that. Like, I want to hear, like you said, like someone like Francisco Lindor or Mookie Betts, like Mookie Betts in the outfield. I want to hear him say, well, I wonder what Cody Bellinger's doing. I drafted him in the first round in the fantasy league. You know what I mean? Well, now they're teammates, so that's a different story. But I'm just saying, like, that's the stuff, exactly what we're talking about. This is the stuff we want to hear. This is the stuff fans want to hear.
Yeah, I think
fans want to be, they want these players to be relatable. And the advantage that baseball has over football and hockey too is that they don't wear helmets. You see their faces.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can recognize them.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee you, if you put pictures up of like the top 50 players in Major League Baseball, most fans wouldn't know half of them except for the people on their teams or the famous players. Like Judge or someone like that, like someone who's been in a Trout. But I mean, if you put Cody Bellinger up, do you honestly think like a Kansas City Royals fan, a casual Kansas City Royals fan is going to know who the hell that is? Probably not.
Not
Why
without
not?
a Dodgers helmet.
This is what I'm saying. Make their faces recognizable. Make them likable. Mic them up. Make them relatable.
They're
not relatable. They're not relatable, and you know what tells me that? Is this whole thing that went on this year. Billionaires against millionaires. It's just a bunch of rich people fighting because they see the players as millionaires. They don't see them as real people. We don't see the owners. We could say, oh, they're billionaires sitting up in their boxes, which they are. But a lot of people took the owner's side. Didn't see the players, as human beings. Mike Trout's having a kid. Bryce Harper's having a kid. They play fantasy baseball, fantasy football, just like everyone else does. They have fans on other sports, and they're fans of other players. We need to make these players relatable to the fans that pay money to go see them. And that is the issue that Major League Baseball has come into. And that's exactly what needs to be fixed. They need to be seen. They need to be seen. And the one thing too, not to cut you off, Sam, but the one thing that was always a draw for kids playing baseball. You could be 5'9", 180 pounds, and play baseball. Mm-hmm. You didn't have to be tall like basketball. You didn't have to be big to play football. You didn't have to have a super strong arm. All you needed was hand-eye coordination and a good bat. And this is what drew a lot of kids to baseball. And because the average guy could play it. And now we've taken that away. The mentality of it has been taken away because now we're not relating to these players anymore. The way kids used to relate to like Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, guys like that. We're not relating to these players anymore because now they're just millionaires. If you mic them up and make them relatable, like I said, they're fans of Bryce Harper's a fan of Dak Prescott. This guy, Mookie Betts, plays fantasy baseball, hopes this guy strikes out, whatever. You make them relatable again. You make them the average person again. They're not just millionaires on a field. They're actual human beings. They're actual players with a face and a voice. And that's what I think baseball has gotten away from.
I think it's fascinating. There's been, several work stoppages in my lifetime, either lockouts, strikes, what have you. And this one it seemed a little different, but I still, from a lot of things that I'm seeing written on social media, there are still a lot of people siding with the owners, or maybe not siding with them, but saying these millionaire crybabies are doing this, that, and the other. And I'm the first one on the keys to say, well, who gave that millionaire crybaby his contract? Because I could tell you it's the owner of the team. And that's just baffling to me. They're like, well, why are they paid so much? I'm like, well, because the guy that you're siding with gave him a shitload of money.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna shift gears a little bit. We talked about the new DH rule. I want to like see what go over some of the like best options for DH or that some of the teams have. I guess we can kind of run down through each division or whatever, see what and say what who we think is the best option for DH.
No, I'm terribly ill prepared for this.
I mean, just whatever comes to your mind, I guess. So I guess we could start with the NL East. We'll go with the Braves first. Braves.
Who you got, Alex?
Trying to probably go with Ozuna because they basically signed him for his bat anyway. So.
Yeah, he's not exactly fab. I mean, he's not horrible in the field, but he's not exactly the most amazing fielder. So I buy that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to go with Ozuna. I'm trying to think of anyone else on the team, unless they bring up Austin Riley.
Yeah, that could be an option too.
Because they still have Camargo, I think, too, who could play third because they don't have Donaldson anymore. So something like that might work too.
Well, part of the other issue here is that they're going to open the season with 30 players on a team. 2 weeks later, they're going to drop it to 28. 2 weeks after that, they're going to drop it to 26. And that's going to be the roster size for the duration. There is no expansion for the playoffs. There's no, bringing up extra guys or anything like that. So they really have to pick and choose. I mean, obviously Riley is a great player, but they have to really pick and choose who's going to be on that roster based on waivers a lot of times to run the whole fucking season.
Right.
Yeah, and it's going to be used a lot, I think, especially in the beginning of the year when you have the 30-man roster and then go down to 28. I think it's going to be used a lot to rest guys.
Yeah,
even later on, even when it comes down to 26. I mean, this is Dave Roberts already came out with the Dodgers and said he's going to use it depending on matchups, depending on this, and that. So, I mean, as far as the Dodgers go, I know I'm getting ahead of ourselves, but, he already talked about like Justin Turner, like someone who's had injury history. I mean, you can look at the Brewers with Ryan Braun. Like, you got to take the obvious guys on certain teams.
Right. And never mind the fact that who knows who's going to test positive and be quarantined or whatever. So certainly there are opportunities. I'm sure nobody is wishing for a teammate to get sick, but there's got to be some guys in the minors that are like, maybe.
Yeah. Like cough on him a little bit when you go past him in the locker room.
Right. I mean, there's probably already guys in the Rockies organization telling their families, well, I may have a chance because Blackman and 2 other dudes already tested positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to see one of those Showgirls type things. Remember the movie Showgirls? I don't know if you guys ever saw it.
Yeah.
She trips her down the stairs like, oops. We'd have one of those things going on in a Major League locker room. I'd be like, oh, man, I'm sorry. I coughed on your towel before. I didn't mean to.
Boy,
You know?
I'm so sorry. That really sucks for you.
Sorry, out 2 weeks. Oh, boy.
Let's go to the Nationals now. I think the Nationals pretty easy with Howie Kendrick. He's the obvious pick for DH for them.
Yeah, I would say so.
He's consistent.
Yeah.
He's consistent. And he's 90 years old and he's still consistent.
Yeah.
Oh, he was a beast last year in the playoff. He showed up for them. And not only that, Howie Kendrick's weird too because he had a stat I remember reading. I mean, this might have been a year or two ago, so don't quote me completely on this. But he had a stat almost like Joey Votto. Like Howie Kendrick went like 3 or 4 years without popping out to first base or second base or something like that. Like something weird. Like he didn't pop out to the infield for like 3 years.
Wow.
I love those.
It's like an odd stat about him, and it was strange. Like I said, don't quote me on the exact numbers, but it was something like that.
I love those stats, and I would tell anybody that listened about Joey Votto with that stat.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. That's an awesome.
That's just amazing. Such an underrated hitter.
Yeah. I guess move to the Mets now. I think if Cespedes is healthy, he'll be the DH, but with him, you never know. So, but I think maybe Dom Smith is an option.
I think the Mets would go with Cespedes, Cano kind of platoon.
Yeah.
Maybe against righties, because you could put McNeil at second.
All right.
You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And then have Cano with DH, and then against the lefty, maybe bench Cano.
Yeah, Robbie's getting a little bit up there. I'm not saying he still doesn't field his position excellently. He does. But he's getting up there. So he's getting to the point where you might want to put a kid in that position and have him DH. I agree that it's probably Cespedes, but I think you can make an argument for Robbie.
Yeah. I think I agree with Johnny. They can definitely go with like a platoon type of thing there.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the move to the Phillies. Jay Bruce is probably the easiest one there, but then I would say probably McCutchen could go there too since he's coming back from his torn ACL. He needs some rest, so he'll probably go there some days too.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Bruce. I don't think I
even knew that Jay Bruce was on the Phillies.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be there. I mean, and he'll be the main DH, I think.
Yeah.
Left-handed hitter. He's going to face righties 3/4 of the time. So, I mean, he'll be the main guy. If there's a tough lefty in there, maybe if they have another right-handed hitter, they can move to the outfield. If they want to move Kingery around or whatever, right. Put McCutchen, give him a break. But, yeah, it'll be Jay Bruce.
And Bruce was actually – I haven't followed him nearly as much in the last couple of years, but as a Cincinnati fan, obviously I know him well. And he actually hit lefties very, very well in his career in Cincinnati. So obviously you're going to play the matchups, but who knows?
Yeah. And then to finish off the NL East, the Marlins. I'm trying to
I'm actually gonna DH for the Marlins. I
Oh.
don't. This is breaking news. I've been signed to the Marlins to DH.
They did get Jesus Aguilar, so I think
There you go.
that's probably the one they go with.
Yep, I agree with that.
Oh yeah, without doubt. They don't have Justin Bour anymore, so
No.
go with Aguilar.
Yeah, that's an easy pick there.
I think a lot of these are fairly simple.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's the obvious choice like a Jay Bruce, someone who's and Jay Bruce did hit lefties better, I think, when he was younger. But I think with the bat speed slowed down a little bit. I think it's just, and plus matchups, lefties generally pitch better against lefties. So you can't always just look at the hitters' stats against them too. Like Sam was saying, I think it's just, it's just matchups. I think a lot of these guys are going to be rested as far as that goes. And you might see a DH here and there that maybe it's a younger kid that got a cup of coffee last year that they want to see kind of what he does before they send him back down as they cut down the rosters. Because like Sam was saying, they're starting off with 30 for the first 2 weeks, then 28, then 26. So maybe with a 30-man roster, when you start off, hey, maybe you want to see this kid, you DH him a couple days in a row.
Yeah.
See what he can do with the bat at the major league level. You know what I mean? Let's see. With the plans on sending him down, but hey, he also played. Now, I don't know how it's going to work out either, because I know you have to play for the team before September 1st to be eligible for the playoffs for that team. Now, how this year is going to work, I don't know. So does that mean that if the season starts July 24th, do you still have to play for this team? Do you still have to be on the active roster on August 31st to be able to qualify for playoffs? Or
I don't believe so.
So I don't know how that's working either. There was another question I had, not to break up your flow here, Alex, but there was another question I had for somebody, and they said Lindsay Adler had something about it. I was asking about how about guys who are on suspension? Domingo Germán,
right,
63 games, and what about Miguel Pineda?
I think they
from
have
my Twins. Is it still the full games?
I think it is.
Because my understanding it is.
Yeah,
but yet, which I think is weird, Jeff Passan tweeted out that if the Toronto Blue Jays keep Nate Pearson down for 7 days, they'll get an extra year of service time.
Yeah.
So that's a ratio to the 66 days that we're going to have in the season, provided it starts July 24th and it goes to September 27th. It's 66 days. So the ratio of 7 days to 66 days is the same as 17 days to the 183 days of a normal baseball season. So if they're doing that with the players' union, they agree to, like, I don't even know if that, like, I'm assuming they agree to it, that they can use that as 1 year of service time. That's your cutoff. Why don't they cut down the suspensions? I mean, because a guy like, say, Miguel Pineda, Miguel Pineda, whatever, he was supposed to miss 39 games this year, which have been effectively a quarter of the season. So he's losing a quarter of his pay. Now, if you keep those 39 games and the players' contracts are prorated for the full pay for 60 games, and you keep 39 games, he's losing 65% of his pay.
Yeah.
How is that fair? How is that fair?
I don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense to me. Like,
I don't think it is, but I do think that when they make a suspension like that, it's the reason it's number of games is because it's number of games.
Right.
So I don't know any better than you do. I can't speak to it for sure. But I mean, to me, it sounds like if you were supposed to miss 60 games, then you're going to miss 60 games, regardless of the season.
What was Herman's? Was it I forget what his was. Was it 60 games? I think it was.
Herman's, I believe, is 63.
Yeah. So that.
So he would miss 60 games of the season and the first 3 games of the postseason.
Yeah.
Supposedly, what I heard was if the Yankees don't make the postseason, then his suspension will be considered served.
Oh.
So he doesn't have to serve the extra 3 games in the beginning of next year.
But if we're right when we're talking about this, he could be eligible for the postseason, and that kind of changes everything.
Yeah.
Right, so he would be eligible for the postseason anyway. I mean, if it was a regular season,
Yeah.
he would still be eligible.
Right. I'm just saying on the short one, you could be like, well, he can't play all season. Oh, we made the postseason. Now all of a sudden we got this dude coming back, and he's looked pretty good. That'd be a story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird if they would bring him back even.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if he does miss the whole season and the first 3 games of the postseason, do you actually bring him back? He hasn't pitched.
Yeah,
in a major
no,
league
I
game
don't
all
think
year,
they would. I'm just saying it's an
I think
interesting idea.
I think too I think once the postseason starts, I don't know if you're even allowed to bring anybody else on unless somebody gets hurt.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because they said once it gets down to 26 players, that's where you are. There's no expanded roster.
Yeah,
I
so
think
don't know.
other than if and this would be interesting, other than if somebody gets the virus, you can replace them.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that be fascinating if somebody was like, yeah, that guy got COVID, so we're bringing Jamon in.
What if somebody like faked the virus? Like, I don't know, like the Yankees had Clint Frazier on there, and then I was like, oh wait, he got the virus, so we're gonna bring him on instead.
Yeah, so we got to get rid of him, but we're bringing in this guy. That seems fair. There's so many questions.
At this point, Clint Frazier wouldn't do that for the Yankees.
Oh no, no.
He'd be like, "Screw you guys!
Yeah.
You guys been trying to trade me for the past 3 years. Get the hell out of here! I'm not faking a virus for you."
Yeah. Oh my god. Anyway, let's move to the Central. Cardinals. Cardinals is kind of a tougher one, I think, but I feel like they would go with like kind of a revolving door with their DH because they can just give like some of the other guys. They can give guys rest here and there, like maybe have Matt Carpenter go there since he's older.
Yeah, I'd put Carpenter there. He's lost a lot in the field too.
Yeah.
He's basically a first baseman at this point. I mean, if that, you know.
I agree with that. And the Central is one of those divisions where everybody's got players that play multiple positions. So if you got somebody that can swing the bat, why even bother throwing them out there?
Right. Let's see. I guess the Brewers. Probably say Braun for the Brewers.
Yeah, it's got to be Ryan Braun.
Definitely Braun, no question about it.
Yeah,
he can still field, but
yeah.
36.
Again, is another guy that's getting a little bit older. They got to bring up a younger guy to start playing in that outfield. I think it's got to be Braun.
Well, they have the outfielders now. I mean, I'm just wondering at first base, don't they have? They got Justin Smoke.
Yeah.
To play first.
Yeah.
I mean, so you could see Ryan Braun, Justin Smoke flip flopping at first base. I mean, you know, they got options there too.
Yeah.
But they don't even need to flip flop as long as you've got both bats in the lineup.
Yeah.
Yep. They also got Avisel Garcia too for the outfield.
Yeah, Garcia, Yelich, and Kane will be the outfield.
Yeah.
But you never know who else they want to move around. I mean, like I said, day off for somebody. So, but
Right.
Braun will be the main guy there. I mean,
I
he's had
agree.
back injuries. He's 37 years old. They gotta, keep
Yeah.
him as healthy as possible in case they make the playoffs.
Is he 37? I thought he was 65.
Oh,
Yeah, probably closer to 65.
probably.
His back is 65.
Reds fans think he's 65
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
because he's been ruining us for years.
He was on my Brewers Mount Rushmore, actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Ryan Braun. I mean,
Well, he should be.
Yeah.
he's been here 15 years. He won Rookie of the Year. He's got an MVP. Say what you want about the steroids
Yeah.
stuff, but the guy's been a face of the franchise since 2006. I mean,
Yep. And a
you know,
lifer.
yeah,
And a
he's a
lifer.
lifer. I mean, it was him, Molitor, Yount, and Bob Uecker. Those are my four for my Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we got to finish those up too.
Yeah, I'm working on the Twins one,
Yeah.
so
We gotta-
I'm a little more than halfway done.
I just want the Reds to be last.
The Yankees will.
You just can't decide, Sam. That's why.
I'm having a really hard time.
Reds are tough.
Imagine trying to do the Yankees one.
Yankees are
Yeah,
tough, too.
I feel your pain. I think we're in the same boat here.
Yeah, Yankees, Red Sox. Those are the tough ones.
Yeah, Reds, Dodgers.
Yeah.
Dodgers another one.
Dodgers.
Even-
I did that one. That was pretty tough. Yeah. I had it.
Giants too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, long history.
Yeah. Let's see. What other teams? Oh, Cubs. It's got to be Schwarber.
Yeah, I would think so.
He's useless in the field.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, where are you going to play him? That's the thing. Can't play him in the field, really.
Yeah. Let's go to your Reds. Who?
Aquino. Put him at DH.
Yeah.
Take him out of the outfield.
I think maybe it's like I said about this division that everybody's got. In this division, everybody's got so many guys that play so many different positions. So yeah,
Give
I
Votto
think.
a rest.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah, I think it's Aquino, but I think we'll see Votto in there quite a bit. Although Votto is really underrated as a first baseman.
Yeah. I'll give him
And
that. He's going to want to be on the field, too.
Yeah.
He likes being on the field.
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, he loves to play, man. He loves to play. He loves
Yeah.
to talk to the guys on the base. He loves to screw with the fans. But yeah, I think Aquino is probably the number one option.
Oh yeah. See, Pirates. Probably maybe Josh Bell for that, but I mean, maybe Polanco. I don't know.
I think Polanco. Yeah, I would see Polanco. He's had injury issues the last couple of years, and
Yeah.
I could see him going there. Josh Bell, too. Josh Bell's younger, though.
Right.
I could see Polanco there.
Yeah, they're both great hitters.
Yeah.
So either one would be fine.
Yeah. Here's another good thing too. Like I was just gonna mention, like, what if they can end up wanting to trade him too, but like this year I don't know what's gonna happen with that. What even is the trade deadline, or is there even one at all? And if
I didn't see one.
August 31st.
What is it?
It's August 31st.
but even
Okay.
then,
The trade. Yeah, it's the trade deadline. It's
even
August
then,
31st.
like, is anybody gonna want to trade people this year? Like, then you have to trade them, and you have to go to a different city, and like with all this virus shit, like
That's what's so weird about it. I mean, I don't think you're going to see any major trades this year.
no.
But you still got guys on last year's of their contract, so it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks for the teams that are trading these guys because usually you could trade a guy for a rental for a couple months in the playoffs and be like, yeah, we'll get these prospects back or whatever. This year it's going to be it's going to be a lot shorter, so I don't know how much value are they going to have. That much value?
I don't know.
And not only that too,
Well,
with
I think
usually when you get to like July 31st, some teams are out of it. I think at this point, if you start the season July 24th, I mean, at August 31st, we're going to be 30-something games in. It's
Yeah.
only really half the season. So who's really out of it?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know how many teams you're going to see making moves because so many teams will be still involved. I mean, if you're 12-22 compared to 22-12, I mean, it's 10 games. Yeah, you only have a month left, but I don't know. I just think it's going to be totally weird.
Yeah. I don't know.
I tend to think that some of the smaller market teams that are more concerned about losing money during this season, if they have a player that's in the last year of his contract, they're going to try to move him as quickly as possible, and his whole salary, in order to save money because there's not people coming in the gates, and B, just to get some prospects if they don't think they have a realistic shot of running through the playoffs.
Mhm. This is.
Yeah, I can see.
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
can see. I can see that, Sam. And unfortunately, that's going to suck for a lot of fan bases because if you're like a week into the season and you're like a Kansas City Royals fan, and all of a sudden they trade like or any team that you don't think may be going anywhere this year, it's kind of it kind of really like usually by July 31st you kind of know, and you're like, all right,
Right.
my team's rebuilding. They're trading this guy because fans accept that. At this point, if they try to trade a player like earlier than the trade deadline, you're kind of giving up on a 60-game season, and fans are going to be like, dude, everyone's got a shot in a 60-game season. What the hell are you doing? Like, I don't know.
No, I think that's a great point. Specifically thinking about not even just guys in a contract here, but guys that maybe signed a contract with an opt-out clause. For instance, the Reds got Castellanos, and he has an opt-out after this year. Now, do I think they're going to trade him? No, I don't. But if stuff's not going good, or we get a couple injuries, and we're like, we might be screwed, and we think that he might just opt out, then yeah, I don't know. Get what you can get.
I forgot about Castellanos. He'd be the perfect DH for them.
Oh yeah.
Because he stinks in the field.
He does. It's true. But most of our outfield stinks.
Yeah, Castellanos mashes though, man.
Right.
That dude crushes it.
He does, but he sucks in the field. Senzel has made strides, but he's not anything amazing.
No.
Winker.
I like Winker a lot. I think he's gonna.
I like Winker a lot, but not in the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Aquino surprised me because he was faster than I thought he was out in right field and did a great job last year. But any one of those guys could be your DH in Cincinnati.
Yeah, you guys would actually be set if you could settle Senzel down to be actually an average center fielder. You guys would be fine in the outfield.
Yeah.
But that's a question mark. And Senzel's had some injuries, and he's,
Some Jesus.
Yeah, the guy's.
I mean, the guy's he's got vertigo. He's got migraines. He's got ankle and ligament issues. There's just always something. And the vertigo thing actually, I think, is the one that bothers me the most. But I guess that's a story for another day.
Yeah, let's go now to the Dodgers. I feel like the Dodgers is more. They probably won't have like a real primary DH. I think they're just gonna have like guys go there for off days, like Matt Beatty, Jock Peterson.
They got 15 guys who can hit, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
they're just gonna rotate them all.
Yeah,
so that'll be it for them.
Like you get a day off, you get a day off, you get a half day off.
Like I said before, I think Justin Turner is going to see a lot of time at DH to keep him fresh, because he's one of the oldest guys on the team.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, they got a young squad, and a bunch of them can hit. I could see they're just going to rotate it. Dave Roberts will do his thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they've got a ton of hitters. I agree. I think Jock Peterson is going to see a ton of time there, but I definitely can see Justin Turner getting days off from the field.
The thing with Peterson is too, he's a very good center fielder.
And then
I mean, if you have him in the lineup,
and then you got Muncy and everybody. Like you said, they've just got a million guys that can hit.
Yeah, it'll just be a matter of keeping him fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Dave Roberts is going to work that lineup. He'll have a different lineup all 60 games.
Oh yeah.
So, it's the way he works it.
Then for the D-backs, probably go with Jake Lamb, because he's had a lot of injuries.
Oh yeah, hands down, I think.
Well, maybe they finally bring up Yasmani Tomas. They bring him back.
Yeah.
They paid the dude like $70 million for 6 years.
Yeah.
They still have him, I think, for one more year. It's like,
what the hell?
What the hell? Might as well bring him up.
That guy should have been a monster. But you're right. You might as well do it.
60-game season. Let's do it.
And Jake Lamb's another one, man. A couple of years ago, the guy hit like 35 bombs and got hurt, lost his job. That was it for him.
He's been hurt a lot.
Yeah. He's like one of those what ifs.
Yeah. Sometimes these guys have 1 or 2 good years, and man, they just fall off the cliff, and you don't even know what happens. Wow. They just have a bad year. Injuries plague them. They try to play. They don't play well. They get released. They lose their starting job, and then that's it for them. They just move on. I mean, Jake Lamb,
honestly,
stories of that all over baseball for years,
Honestly, the another one, this is kind of a mishmash between Arizona and us just talking about the Dodgers. If AJ Pollock was still in Arizona, he'd be the hands down DH, in my opinion. And definitely probably qualifies for the DH in LA. I mean, the guy can flat out hit, but he's another one that's been injured over and over again.
Yeah.
I could see that.
I could see that, definitely. I could see Jock Peterson playing center and Pollock DHing.
Definitely. I think the Giants is probably one of the easiest. Hunter Pence, who was a DH last year, so I mean.
Yeah, they have him back.
Yeah, I think it's got to be Pence.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for him though. I always liked Hunter Pence, man. He's one of those old school guys you just love to root for.
I've always hated Hunter Pence.
He's just such a he wears the high socks
Yeah.
he's so uncoordinated. Like it seems like he's so uncoordinated. Like whatever he hits or throws, like it seems awkward. It's almost like Johnny Damon. Like
Yeah.
whenever I watch Johnny Damon play, like even when he hit, like it always just looked weird to me. And then when he threw from the outfield, he threw like a girl. Like I don't
Yeah.
know, like it was weird. Like not to be offensive toward girls, but I mean, it just like looked weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
no, I know a lot of girls that could
Definitely agree with
throw
that.
way, way better.
There was this one play I remember, like at the old Yankee Stadium, where he tried to catch a ball and it like landed on top of the fence and it just stuck. It like stayed there, like it was on the top of the fence for like a good 5 seconds, like just rolling around.
yeah, it's weird. Johnny Damon and Hunter Pence, two guys that I always thought were like the most uncoordinated baseball players I've ever seen in my life. They just look weird playing. They don't swing right. They don't throw right, but they've had success. Hey, who might argue? But I mean, they just look strange.
Let's see. Rockies is next. Probably Danny or Murphy. I forgot they even have him, but
Murphy and Desmond.
Oh, I forgot that too.
Murphy and Desmond.
yeah,
Probably platoon there.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Desmond played the field a little more than Murphy, but Murphy stinks in the field. He's always stunk in the field.
Oh yeah. Now they got
So, I mean,
they got Brendan Rodgers. I think he'll be up soon. Like he was injured last year, but I think I don't know, maybe not this year, but I don't know.
yeah, that's what they said about every Rockies player for the past 4 years.
Like they never bring him up. Like even
yeah, it's true, man.
even before he was injured, they were like he should have been up already, and then they didn't bring him up.
So Brendan Rodgers, Ryan McMahon, and Garrett Hampson have been like prospects for the past 5 years. Like, when are you bringing it? I understand you have Story and Arenado on the left side of the infield. I get it, but I mean, really, you can't find a place for these guys.
Hampton's 25 now. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you're gonna bring these guys when they're, what the hell? Colorado's classic for that, man.
Yeah.
Well, look, I don't know what Arenado's WAR is. I'm assuming it's very high.
Yeah.
And obviously I don't have his fielding percentage in front of me, but I know that he's good.
Yeah.
But when you've got an asset like that you're clearly trying to move, do you consider putting him at DH to try to avoid any extra injury so that you can ship him off to somebody else?
No.
His fielding is
okay.
a large part.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's 2 no's.
No, not at his age.
Yeah.
And not the fact that they signed him to an 8-year extension last year.
I forgot about the extension, but still.
Yeah. No,
but I think they're gonna move him, if not this year, then next.
They're gonna play him at third because he's a vacuum at third base. He's a top 3 defender at third base. He's probably a top 10 defender at third base all time.
That's fine. I was just playing devil's advocate about.
No, I see what you're saying. I definitely see what you're saying.
Protecting your assets.
Protecting your
before
assets.
you try to sell it.
Yeah, I get it. But part of his asset is fielding, and I think not only that too. At least going into the year, all right, DHing him maybe once or twice once they cut down to the 26-man roster, depending on where Rockies are. I can see it.
Well, sure,
but at the beginning of the year with a 60 game season, I mean, the Rockies have a shot just like anybody else. I mean, they're not going to bench. Well, they're not going to DH their best defensive player.
Do they have a shot, though?
They actually do. The Rockies actually would, it really wouldn't surprise me.
No.
I disagree.
Well, you know what it is with that? It's because they're not going to be traveling as much. So the hangover from going to Coors Field to somewhere else may not be as bad for their hitters or as
Good
long
point.
or as more
Good
often.
point.
And they do it. I mean, Herman Marquez, John Gray, what he did second half of the year last year, the pitching is not horrible. I don't know. I don't know. And now with the new divisions, I mean, look at who they're going to be playing. I mean, yeah, they play the Giants. The Giants stink.
Right.
You know, Arizona's a decent team. Dodgers are good. All right, that's fine. San Diego, yeah, they're young. We'll see.
I like San Diego.
Yeah.
You know, but they're also playing. They're also playing the Angels, who I think could be a dark horse in a 60-game
Right.
season.
Mhm.
If Trout's an absolute, who knows with Trout, he could have one of those like absolute beasts of like a 60-game stretch where he hits 410.
Well, we should.
20 and 25 home runs, but you know, we
We
should be so lucky.
should mention that. We should mention
You know.
that because Trout can opt out because his wife is pregnant.
Right. This is true
Oh,
too.
I don't think he will. I'm just saying.
Harper too
yeah.
for the Phillies. These are the things that
Don't
that's the tough thing.
Don't even put that in my head because Garrett Cole's wife is also pregnant.
See, these are the things you don't know. I'm just talking about if everyone plays.
Yeah.
If everyone
It's
plays,
almost like
know.
it's almost like instituting the DH in the NL, which a lot of purists don't like because it cuts down on strategy. It's almost like the opposite is trying to look at this season and seeing who is not going to play as a strategy.
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Um,
I'm going on the premise that everyone's playing at this point
Yeah.
because no one's opted out yet. So
I think you have to, yeah.
But I think I honestly going back to the Rockies. I mean, I think they honestly have a realistic shot.
Yeah.
Ever in a 60-game season. I mean, look, they're playing the Mariners. They're playing the Angels. They're playing the Rangers. A lot of people I know are on the Rangers this year. I don't know why, but I just don't see it.
All right.
I don't either. I don't either.
Here's a fun question: who has a better chance?
It's because of their rotation.
Yeah,
Who has a better chance, the Rockies or the Mariners?
Rockies.
Rockies.
Yeah.
Rockies.
The Mariners haven't had a chance in years.
Who do they remember that one pod? We were like, who do they even have?
Yeah. Mariners have a decent lineup, but they have no
But
pitching.
if they can get onto like a
whatsoever.
stretch like they did last year, they started out. What was it like?
Yeah, like 13-2 or whatever. Like, yeah, they were ridiculous last year. Okay, the Mariners have no pitching whatsoever.
Oh God, they got some in their prospects, but they won't be up yet.
Yeah, they're not gonna. Yeah, they're not bringing those guys up. I mean, Marco Gonzalez is their ace.
Yeah. Let's see. The last one was the Padres. Will Myers is a pretty easy pick.
Oh yeah,
hands down, Will Myers.
Yeah,
hands down. He's one of those. It's either a home run or a strikeout. So
yeah,
put him up there.
He's gonna be whenever his contract's up. He's gonna be gone.
You know what's funny with all this too? We went through the MLB draft profiles, and everyone looks so good. Like we talk about Zach Veen, and we talked about Austin Martin and Spencer Torkelson and all these guys and everything. And then we talk about some guys right now that we were just talking about. A few years later, Nick Senzel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was he, the 4th pick overall? I mean, where is he now? Yeah, injuries, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Some guys like that,
that's why I want
to. Will Myers was a 1st-round pick. I mean, this dude was a stud when he came out.
Yeah, he was a beast for the Rays when he first came out.
And what happened?
Yeah.
You never know with these guys. You can't predict the next Mike Trout.
That's why I want to.
Yeah,
That's why I want to do an article on like looking back on one of the years. Like go look back on like the 2015 draft or something.
yeah, you'd have to go back, definitely. At least
2014,
15, if not farther back than that.
2012.
Because you got to figure, if guys get drafted, if it takes them, say, 3 years to make it to the majors, even out of college at 21, if they make the majors at 24, even if it takes them 3 years, it takes them another 3 years to really acclimate and become something. So I would say look back, I'd say 14, 13, 12.
Probably 13 or something. No. 13 was, I think that was Judge's year that he was drafted.
It could have been, yeah. Was that Correa also?
Yeah, I think so.
Carlos Correa?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some of these guys that were drafted, I mean, I think back on like some early draft picks. It's like, you mention them now, and it's like, who? You know, like, who the hell is that? Even Rookie of the Year award winners. I mean, I look back on the 90s, and I think back to like Pat Listash. Do you even know who he is? No. He was a shortstop for the Milwaukee Brewers. He was a Rookie of the Year. I believe it was 1993. He led the league. I think he led the National League. And this is when the American League. This is when Milwaukee was in the American League.
Right.
He led the American League in stolen bases with like 50-something. He was Rookie of the Year. And the dude was out of baseball in like 4 years.
What nowadays some people are like, what is a stolen base?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look back on 1990. I think it was 1994 because I did the What If articles.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who won the Rookie of the Year that year in the American League? Manny Ramirez finished second. Number one, Bob Hamlin.
Oh.
Like, who the hell is that? He was a power hitting left-handed first baseman for the Kansas City Royals. Hit 21 home runs in like 60 games, and like won the Rookie of the Year award. Again, the dude was out of baseball in like 5 years.
Oh, yeah,
like you never know, man.
Looking at the 2013 draft, Mark Appel was the first overall pick by the Astros.
Great pick.
Yeah. Chris. He's a GOAT. Chris Bryant was 2.
Yep.
Judge was 32.
What year is this again?
2013.
Okay, yeah.
Austin Meadows, number 9.
Oh, okay.
Clint Frazier was 5th overall.
Wow.
Damn. I didn't know he was that.
Down goes Frazier.
Speaking of Marco Gonzalez, he was 19th overall by the Cardinals.
Well, he's carved out a major league career. Some of these guys just don't even.
DJ Peterson, who the hell is that?
Yeah.
Phil Bickford.
This is it. This is what I'm talking about.
Trey Ball, 7th overall pick.
When we talk about these guys that have draft profiles, everyone sings their praises, not just us, but everyone else.
Yeah.
That's why they're first-round picks. But you know what? 90% of them won't last 3 years in the major leagues.
Nope.
It's the way it goes. We see the same thing in other sports, too. I'm in the NFL. You see that all the time. Some guys are 5th. I mean, how many first-round picks have busted in the NFL and been out, but 2 years later they're gone?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I think
that's the way it is, man.
I think for baseball, it's like you see that the most because like you go to the minors and then you might not even ever get to the league.
Right. Yeah, at least with the NFL and the NBA and even the NHL too, you see the pros.
Yeah.
Quickly. In the NFL, I mean, you see the NFL. If you're a first-round pick, you're basically on a team.
Yeah.
So it's not like you have to wait.
Yeah, I mean, for the NBA. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and that's the problem with the Major League Baseball draft.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people don't really pay attention to it that much, is because, all right, My team, yes, the Detroit Tigers drafted Spencer Torkelson, number 1 overall. Great, you're not going to see him in Tiger Stadium for 3 years. In general.
Well, for him,
That's the way it goes.
I think he might be up next year even.
Yeah, that's true.
But for other guys, it's not the case.
I haven't paid attention to the MLB draft in years until I started working at the Scarecrow.
Did you get into it a little bit this year?
Did you?
Well, it's just, I mean, frankly, it's boring to me for the same reason you just said. It's going to be years before I see this guy. So, yeah, I'll follow my team and I'll follow all the articles and write-ups and stuff about what someone is doing in the minors. But, excited about people that are drafted in the first 2 rounds, even third, fourth, whatever. In baseball, you're just like, cool, man, I'll see you in 7 years.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. That's
Especially with God.
That's why I think that this year was only 5 rounds. I think they to begin with 40 rounds was too many. Like they need to do 20 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
But
yeah.
It's still not going to change that they're not going to see these guys for 4 years.
I think it's good that they abbreviated it, frankly.
Yeah.
Because you get somebody in one of those super late rounds and you read his name, maybe you watch his highlights, you see his stats, and you're like, I'm never going to see that guy. It's not going to happen.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that the talent isn't out there. I know that it is. And they need to be given a shot, so I'm glad they get a shot. But your average fan is just like, I don't even need to know this guy's name.
Right.
Especially when it comes to pitching. Pitching lasts a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It takes a lot longer. I mean, if you're drafting a high school pitcher, you're not seeing this dude for 6 years. I mean, it's that,
Easily.
it takes so long. I mean, hitting is a different story. Someone like a college hitter, someone like a Spencer Torkelson, someone like Adley Rushman, who was drafted first last year. The dude's going to be in the majors next year. So someone like that, you could see in 2 years.
Sure.
A top prospect like that, a top guy. But once you get past the first round, these guys are going to be in the minors for 3 years, easy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
probably
easy
more.
3 years. Yeah, exactly. Easy 3 years, probably more like 5. So, aside from the Spencer Torkelson, the Austin Martin, the Adley Rushman, guys like Chris Bryant, who was drafted 2nd overall, Carlos Correa, blah, blah, blah.
Like Trout.
Aside from that, and even Trout was drafted 25th overall. I mean, Randall Grichuk was drafted right before him.
Oh, yeah.
But, same team. The Angels have back-to-back picks.
Yeah.
But even so, it's like, and who knows? Then you get the Mike Piazza, who was drafted in the 62nd round,
Yeah.
1300. The Albert Pujols, who was 401st overall. Jake DeGrom, who was drafted in the 10th round. I mean, yeah, you have these guys that are anomalies, but if you look back on Baseball Reference and you go through the drafts, there's barely anyone drafted after the 2nd round that even makes the majors.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like you said, it's not worth it for fans to watch it because it's like, all right, not only am I not going to see this guy for 3 to 5 years, but I might not ever see him. Likelihood is I'm not ever going to see this guy in the major league roster. Whereas the other sports, you pretty much immediately on the team.
Yeah, I mean, we do it. We do it because it's our job. But the average fan is like, I don't care about that guy.
Right.
Just let me know if he's doing good and he might come up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
you only look into him when he's traded for like a player.
Right.
Exactly.
And then you look back 10
Yeah.
years later, you're like, yeah, we fucked these guys because we traded this guy for this guy. And he turned into, you know.
This guy was the player to be named later.
Yeah, as a Reds fan, I can tell you that is 100% true.
Oh, trust me, every franchise has gone through that. Been like, damn. Just looked at the trade later on and been like, damn. If we only held on to that guy. If the Mets only held on to Nolan Ryan.
Oh,
If the Reds only held on to Didi Gregorius.
no, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I think we've been going a little while, but yeah, baseball. We get baseball in what, a week from today? For
Spring training.
Spring training. So, yeah,
Is it June?
yeah, it's June 24th.
Son of a bitch.
What day is it? I don't know.
I know, right? Coronavirus got everyone.
I think it's Sunday.
My life hasn't changed. I still go to work every day.
Yeah.
I know you have, and I appreciate you working, even though it doesn't affect me.
Well, thank you,
But
Sam.
I'm sitting here in my little cove.
So, yeah, well, thanks for coming on, guys. I don't know if you want to just plug yourselves quick.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at jball0202, and you can find us at the Score Crow on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Reddit.
And YouTube.
All social media, and YouTube. That's right. Yeah, that's about it. Check us out. A bunch of stuff going on. Constantly putting out articles. MLB keeping you busy through the COVID thing, and leading up to the seasons coming up.
Glad to be here, Alex. I'm on Twitter at buy and sell you, and of course the Score Crow as well on all platforms. And yeah, it's good stuff, man. This is fun.
Yeah, I'll hope to get some more stuff going when we get a season and talk about stuff that's happening. Like,
I'm excited about it.
yeah.
I can't wait.
You can find me on Twitter at Alex Kielar. Yeah, they both said the Scorecrow stuff. You can find all that stuff. You could be doing the Mount Rushmore articles, as we talked about before. And then, as the season rolls around, probably get some fantasy stuff going too. So that'll be exciting. So we're excited for a season to finally be coming. Hopefully it sticks. There's no pushback. No shutdown again after more cases come or something. I think we're gonna get it though. I think I'm hopeful that it's gonna push through all the way, and we'll see. In the end of or whatever it is, the end of into October, I guess. We'll see who's on top, who gets the championship this year. So yeah, we'll be back with another episode, probably a couple weeks when the season's about to start. I guess we'll have another episode. So yeah, as always, you can never have too much pod tar.